Growing up, I was told stories, fairy tales, folklore, and histories of times that had been before my being. And all of these stories, they always chose to begin once upon a time. When the storytellers become too old to remember the tales they told, I will be called upon to tell you stories. Fairy tales, folklore, probably histories of times that had been before my being. Then I too, I would have to begin with once upon a time. So once upon a time, there were no phones. And when two hearts needed to reach out to each other, the farthest distance that allowed was once separated by the ear and a whisper. When men needed the word to say, I love you, they took ink, they wrote letters, they painted masterpieces in the ancient art of calligraphy. Once upon a time, our love was a mountain of effort, it wasn't a valley of fear. It was the fruit of the branch of a tree whose roots ran deep through streams of honesty. Once upon a time, there was no electricity. And our knowledge smelled like the smoke of the lamp that leads those forts where we sail the world through our father's stories. All we knew was a little, but that little, so that no one man could ever come and pretend that he alone knew it all. In our ignorance, we were taught to remember how much we all needed each other. Once upon a time, there were no guns. And to kill a man, it took more than seconds, it took weeks. Of honing a spear or an arrow, enough time to walk away the hate and why we were angry in the first place. Once upon a time, our daughters' heads were filled with ideas of maidenhead. And even when they were broke, they never thought their bodies were something they should sell. Once upon a time, our sons were the pride of a place, they were the strength of a clan. They were not blinded by beauty and fading vanities. Once upon a time, there were no wars for region, religion, or resources. And when men stood to say, I pledge, they pledged their allegiances to humanity and not to their countries. Growing up, I was told stories, fairy tales, folklore, and histories of times that had been before my being. And all of the stories would always begin once upon a time. When the storytellers become too old to remember the tales they fondly told, like today, I will be called upon to tell you a story. And then I would also have to begin once upon a time. Thank you very much.